Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very interesting and insightful video about how expensive Tulum really is. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I was living in Tulum for a few months. I have a huge series of Tulum videos that I've created for my channel. It's all in a playlist called Mexico. And this video is about how much money I spent in Tulum, and I want to break down my expenses while I was there. Tulum is a hotspot for tourism right now. It's known for its restaurants, extravagant hotels, parties, and of course for being quite expensive. A lot of bloggers are there. I'm sure you've seen it all over Instagram for the past few years and all of that. So I want to give you an inside look after living in Tulum, not only visiting and spending a week or a few days there, but I actually was living there. I was paying rent. I had a rental car, and I really got to know the local prices and the tourist prices. So I'm going to break all of this down for you in this video. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you can catch my other videos on Tulum that I will be posting. Hit the bell so you'll be notified when I upload, and also be sure to check out my other videos on Tulum. I have a lot of helpful videos there about the best things to do in Tulum, where to eat, a lot of vlogs to show you guys exactly what I was up to when I was there and all of that. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm gonna start off with my most expensive expenses while I was living in Tulum. Let's start off with my rent. So I was paying about $500 a month for my apartment. I do have to say I did get help finding this apartment from my friend who is kind of a local in Tulum, and I did get a great price because he knew where to look and how to find this apartment or apartments in Tulum. And he actually has a company called International Experiences, and it is in Tulum, Playa del Carmen, and Cancun. And through this company, you can book your transportation, excursions, you name it, you can book it through there where you want to stay. And they're super helpful with just organizing your whole trip in Tulum. I'll leave the website and information in the description, so be sure to check it out. But my apartment was $500 a month. I paid a deposit, I think, of also $500 or $450. So it did cost me almost $1,000 up front. I was able to get my full deposit back. I had a studio apartment in La Valletta. La Valletta is an area kind of near the center. It is a little bit farther away than the center to the beach, but it's an up and coming area. A lot of buildings are popping up over there, but that also means there's a lot of construction going on over there, which I'm sure you're aware if you've watched my old vlogs about all the construction that was happening right outside my apartment. I wasn't even able to open my blinds because the construction was so bad and they were literally standing right outside my window. So I didn't want to open my blinds because they would always look in. These are the construction workers, and yeah, so that was definitely not a positive to living in this area. But my apartment was nice. There was a small gym, a pool, a yoga area. They had a concierge service. If I would have liked, there was a chef that cooked meals and I could have them delivered to my room. There was a small kitchen. It was a studio apartment, very small, one room, but there was a blender. I was able to cook. I had dishes and everything came with the apartment. So I did like my apartment apart from the construction, and it was kind of damp in there. So I did feel kind of moist. I hate that word, but the sheets felt kind of moist. So take what you will with that information, but my rent was $500 a month. For Tulum, you can, if it's off season, not high season is around November until January, February. That's gonna be your most expensive time to be staying and living in Tulum. So expect to pay anywhere from $600 a month to maybe $800 to $1,000 depending on your apartment, or more than that if you have a nicer apartment. Yeah, you can get a place for around $600 a month. Remember, if you sign for a longer lease, it is cheaper. I was only signed to this lease for a month because I was moving each month, but I could have gotten it for cheaper if I signed longer. But yeah, paid around $500 for my apartment, which is still, if I were to have been living in the US and paying rent, especially here in Austin rent prices range from $800 to $1,500 for a 1-bedroom, even more sometimes. So you can do the math and see why I prefer to live in Mexico and pay $500 a month for my rent rather than staying here and signing a lease. I'm living at home right now, which I talk about a lot. And a big reason I'm doing that is because, one, I'm saving a lot of money while COVID is happening, not much is happening here. And I would rather live at home while I'm here in Austin and then every month or a few months go move for a few months to another place, whether it's Mexico, maybe I'll move to Canada next. I am Canadian, so I can do that. But that's the information on my rent. If you have questions about rent or would like me to make a separate video on how to find apartments, because there are different ways you can go about that, let me know in the comments below, because I can share more information on that in a different video. My second big expense was my rental car. So when I first got to Tulum, I moved there with my friend and we were living kind of in Playa del Carmen and we would be going to Tulum on the weekends. So we did have a rental car. Our rental car was $600 a month, but we split it obviously, so it was about $300 each. It was not a good car. Like, this was a older car, didn't even have like an auxiliary cord input or Bluetooth or anything like that. Nothing special, super basic, kind of older. So I think $600 a month was a bit high for what we paid, because I do know other people who were paying around the same price as us, but had not much nicer cars, but newer cars, probably like 2015 and up. So I would do some homework on that, where to find the best rental cars. And I think we booked our car through a mutual friend's friend. I don't know how it worked exactly, but wouldn't recommend that. If you're living in Tulum, it isn't completely necessary to have a rental car. I actually got rid of my rental car the last month I was there and just took taxis. Also, my friend had a motorbike, so he was able to give me rides places. If you do the math and see how often you're going to be taking taxis and how far you need to go, sometimes it is better to get a rental car or maybe split the cost of a rental car with a friend, but just be ready to spend around, I'd say $400 to $600 a month on a rental car. And for food, I would say food is pretty normal to American prices in Tulum. So if you go to other areas of Mexico, you can find everything for a lot cheaper, but Tulum prices are, of course, more than other places, just because they do cater to a lot of tourists from the US and Canada, but mostly the US. A lot of people from Miami, LA, New York, you know, expensive cities in the US. So these people are already used to high prices. And when they come to Tulum, even if the prices are a little bit lower than what they would be paying in New York, Miami, or LA, they still are expensive in comparison to prices in other places of Mexico. So food is quite expensive depending on the restaurants you go to. If you're in the hotel zone, everything is expensive. Food, accommodations, shopping, taxis, whatever it is, it's expensive there. Meze, Gitano, Rosa Negra, Azulik, Nomade, Casamalca, all these big hotels, you're gonna spend a lot of money on your meals. So it's expensive, but you can find better restaurants, or not better restaurants, but very good restaurants that are kind of the same quality, I guess, of food in the center for a lot cheaper. So I would recommend eating in the center more. I really like the restaurants in the center. I found them, some of them even better than the ones in the hotel zone. The hotel zone, I felt like the food kind of was similar in majority of the restaurants. It was kind of like, I don't want to compare it to Cheesecake Factory because it was different, but it's kind of like Cheesecake Factory in the sense that it's kind of a chain, and all those hotels there are for parties and whatever, and they know they can charge high prices and not make the food so high quality because people are going to pay for it anyways. But it is really good food. I'm not saying it's bad, but it is overpriced. So the center has much more reasonable prices for restaurants and food. Going along with food, I would also go to the grocery store quite often. I went to Chedraui. I love Chedraui, like I've said a million times. But I think if you've been following me for years, you know in Spain I was obsessed with Mercadona. Here I'm obsessed with Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, and I just have a thing for grocery stores. What can I say? I like cooking. I like finding deals. So I went to Chedraui quite often, and the grocery stores are very reasonably priced, cheaper than the US actually. I would recommend, if you're staying there, if you're living in Tulum, just go to Chedraui, stock up, and eat out every once in a while, but you do as you will. But those are just my own tips and my own experience with the prices for food in Tulum. Parties. So that is a big part of Tulum. Parties, the clubs, the hotel zone, beach clubs, all of that. They're expensive. Drinks are expensive. Tables are very expensive. Jungle parties can be expensive. So overall, expensive. You can split tables. I actually was one of the people that was working events, I guess, but I didn't really work events too much. I mostly had friends that were working in them and they were making commission off of selling tables and this and that. But I know Halloween weekend I did work events and the tables were going for $10,000, $20,000, some for more than that. So be ready to pay money for parties. Some parties do allow you to have like a cover fee or something. Maybe it's $50, $100, whatever it is. But usually the best way to go around parties is to get a group together and pitch in for a table. So it can be a little bit cheaper that way, but still expensive. If you do want a cheaper, more chill party, like a reggaeton type of party, you can find those in the center. I go into that a little bit more in my top 10 things to do in Tulum video. So you can watch that one for more information on those types of parties. Let's talk about shopping. So I did a bit of shopping in Tulum, not too much. I actually intended on buying a hat while I was there, and this was actually something I was focused on doing for months prior to going to Tulum. And then I got there and I didn't buy the hat and I kept saying I would, and then I said I would order it back home here and I never got to it. But there's a lot of shopping in Tulum, especially in the beach area. The clothes are so cute. The style is so different and unique to Tulum. I did buy a few dresses and a couple pieces of this and that. They are expensive. I would suggest online shopping before you go. Go on Amazon, go on Shein, Nasty Gal, whatever it is. Get your cheap clothing and take it there because you're gonna find basically the same items for $5 online and you're gonna find them there for $100, maybe $150. Like I said, prices are based on the people that go to visit Tulum. A lot of them are more well off or will be more willing to spend more money, so the prices are higher. So yeah, shopping is expensive. Let's talk about taxis. So taxis have different prices. They have a local price and they have a tourist price. If you're not from Tulum, you're gonna be paying the tourist price and it can be quite expensive. If you're going from the center to the beach, which is about a 10 to 15, sometimes 20 to 30 minute car ride, expect to pay anywhere from 200 pesos to 400 pesos. 400 is usually the higher end of what taxis cost to go from the beach to the center or vice versa, but they do charge a lot more for tourists. If you're going around the center, like from La Valeta to the center, you can expect to pay 50 pesos, 40 pesos, maybe 100 pesos, depending on your level of Spanish and also if you know the taxi driver. I would always grab taxi drivers who I thought had fair prices. I would get their WhatsApp and they would gladly give me their WhatsApp, or they would actually try and give me their WhatsApp. And then I would just message them or call them if I needed a taxi, and they would either come or send one of their friends. So there are ways around all of the prices with taxis and stuff. If you're on the beach, don't pay more than like 200 pesos to go from one side of the beach to the other, but expect to pay around 300 pesos to go from the beach to the center. There are little prices here and there. If you have questions about any of this stuff, leave them in the comments. I can help you out over there. And if you have more questions about moving to Tulum, planning your trip, and you want more personalized advice, I do travel consultations, and you can book time with me. We can spend 30 minutes together on Zoom and I can kind of walk you through everything, help you plan your trip, where to stay, how to budget, any information you really need. And you can give me your questions before we even get on, so that way I can prepare for them and give you a really good quality meeting and information. So if you want to do that, I'll leave the link to my Calendly in the description below. And yeah, if you have any more questions on Tulum or how expensive it is, ask me in the comments. But overall, like you can see, Tulum is quite expensive. It is cheaper than living in the US in some ways, but at the same time, you are going to be paying higher prices than the rest of Mexico just because of the people that they cater to. The tourists that come to Tulum are usually from the US. Like I said, Miami, New York, LA, expensive cities in the US as it is. So they think, or they can charge a bit more and people will be more willing to pay those prices. But if you are looking for a cheaper place to vacation in Mexico, there definitely are cheaper places. So be aware of that as well. But I hope you found this video really helpful and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.